And it appears that it's time to start. Thank you for being here to the Payson City Council meeting for March 16th, 2022. The time is on my watch, 6 o'clock, maybe one after. We'll go ahead and open this meeting. Von Menlove has been asked to do the opening prayer. Von.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we'd like to thank Thee for the opportunity to meet here tonight in this city council meeting. We ask that Thou would bless with Thy Spirit, that we can discuss those things that need to be discussed, that we can have an enjoyable time and be able to come to a conclusion of helping each other and to find ways to be better neighbors and to work together and to strengthen our bonds and those acquaintances that we have with one another. We ask that Thou will bless our families, that we are away from them, that they will be protected and watch over as we are away. And we ask for these things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Vaughn. We've asked Jason Knapp if you'd come up and lead us in the pledge. Yep.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jason. Okay. Yeah. I forgot my glasses, so it's all right. I think I can squint enough. We'd like to go to the consent agenda, approval of the March 2nd, 2022 City Council minutes. If there's no discussion on the consent agenda, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the March 2nd, 2022 City Council minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion. It's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We'll go ahead and open a public forum. Anyone can speak on items that are not on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, and we'll go to that point. If you'd step up to the microphone to do that, we'd appreciate it.
Hey, Bill.
How are we doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Good, good.
Make this town a good place to live for many years, Bill.
Thank you.
Just wanted you to know that. Proud to know you.
Same here.
My name's Richard Shill. I moved to Payson in 1973, but I've been gone 6 years. On the road as a truck driver. I live on a little horse farm on the other end of town. I'd just like to remind everybody of the history of this building. Right here where John Lithgow and Kevin Bacon said there should be public dancing in the movie Footloose. Of course, this was the Payson Hospital and my grandfather died right up there about 1 million years ago. Our first mayor was David Crockett, 1856 is when the town was incorporated. Santaquin, they used to run them into Fort Payson, son of Chief Santaquin. And so there's a lot of history in this town. A lot of movies have been made here. It was a true Payson town. You didn't want to cash your paycheck up at Eureka. You wanted to bring it down here and cash it in Dixon's Market. And he also has sat on the city council. This mayor is one of the finest police officers there ever was. And we have a bunch of fine people running this town. It's a great town. And I just wanted to say that, something real positive. Bill, thank you for making this a great town to live in for
Thank you.
many years.
Appreciate that.
I have something that I would like to bring up whenever that works best for Zoom.
Who would you identify yourself?
Yes, my name is Hayden Euler, and I would just like to bring up a possible health hazard that I've seen here in the city that I just wanted to bring to people's attention, where the softball fields are across from the LDS seminary building at the high school. is a very common place between the seminary building and the softball fields is a very common place for people to cross for softball tournaments and baseball tournaments, things that happen over there, because parking usually happens over there. And there are no streetlights over there. And many people, the games usually end when it's dark. There's many families and kids that are crossing this road. And there's a lot of times where people, it's just hard to see people as they're going. And I know people that have actually been close to being hit crossing that stretch of road. And I think there have been several incidents that have happened there. So I wanted to propose, I guess, like suggest an idea of having one of those flashing crosswalk signs where they're solar powered. You hit the button when you're on either side and it starts flashing so that you can go across. And so it's easy to see. And because of the low visibility and the lack of street lights there, I think this would be very beneficial. I go to campus at UVU. I go to school here, and they have these all around the campus, and they eliminate a lot of possible fatalities, a lot of casualties, and they're really effective. And I even priced it. I found an estimate for like a manufacturer that creates these to get 2 of them, one for each side, would come out to about $3,500. So in my opinion, I think that is definitely worth any possible lawsuits that could come from someone getting hurt there, and with all the families and people that are crossing. So I think it's a very low cost for the benefit that would come from it.
Thank you
That's
for
all.
your input. We can certainly talk with staff and see what the possibilities are there. Thank you.
My name is Darla Pierre. So I'm on the community council at Barnett, and we had came up with a similar situation that Alex has presented, where the intersection on 600 East and 400 North in Payson. So it's that 600 East is so busy now, it's getting even busier. I live right on that road, and that's 400 North crossing. There's no kids being escorted across there. Like the kids are just crossing. And in the council, we discussed and thought a crossing guard would be a good solution to that. But then also a neighbor sent me that same idea, the flashing lights, because then it benefits people, whether it's the schools or anybody, because that road, I mean, it's 25 miles per hour, but we all know that they don't go that fast on that road. So we're really concerned about that intersection and kids. And I know there was just probably about 4 years ago, a kid hit there and broken his leg in several places. And so it's a really dangerous intersection there. So I contacted Brett, he's my neighbor, and he said to come show up here. So I wanted to show face and make sure that we have, and I have a support here too, to come so that we can make sure that that's brought forth and we protect our kids. I'm about to move out of town, so I won't be able to follow through with this, but I wanted to make sure that this was brought to.
In the record,
the
which it is
council.
now. So
Yes, thank you so much.
thank you. Hey, Helena,
Hi,
go ahead and identify yourself. I already did part of it.
my name's Helena Carter Thomas, and I just in general wanted to bring up a couple of things. I wanted to read the definition of rural. I was reading today in the general plan, and I just wanted to remind everyone, rural in relating to or characteristic of the countryside rather than the town. I also wanted to read the definition of agriculture. The science, art, or practice of cultivating the soil, producing crops, and raising livestock, and in varying degrees in preparation and marketing of the resulting products. And as I was reading through the general plan and things, over and over and over again, I'm seeing, that we want to keep the rural feel and the agricultural uses and the open space. And I, of course, I think we all know I'm concerned about that. And I want to make sure that, as we're going forward with approving development or growth in the Payson city, that we follow the general plan. And I kind of feel like in reading also in the general plan, some of the goals that, it talks about aligning zoning and subdivision ordinances with the plan to achieve desired development, improve land use transitions. There was something I wanted to read here. I'm sorry, I can't find it. But it talked about, you know, how important it is to put the infrastructure in first and make sure that, you know, I guess we're not putting the cart before the horse. And as far as a lot of things, whether it's the roads, the storm drainage, I guess those are the two main things that I see a lot of issues with. You know, as I was looking at some of the storm reservoirs today, as I was driving around, you know, they're horrible. They're clear full of weeds. They're not, you know, an open space that I think anyone in the world could enjoy. You know, I hear a lot of times this talk about that, you know, it doesn't make sense to have 5-acre lots or even 2-acre lots because they turn into weed patches. Well, you know, some of the area that we're calling open space or that have been designated for open space are just that, and they're not even areas that can be utilized by the public. So, you know, I just want to make sure that, you know, we're following the general plan, and if maybe there needs to be some adjustments to the zoning or infrastructure or things that we're doing, I'd like to make sure that we stick to it and that we do what it says in the general plan.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Doesn't appear anyone else is on the move to come up. Anybody else online? Kim? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public forum. We'll move on to staff reports. While that's going on, or if we have any, I'm gonna go get my glasses so I can read what I'm seeing. Any staff? Oh, they're in my office on my desk. Oh, thanks, Dave. Oh, guess we'll wait for them to get my glasses back.
How many does it take to carry?
One pair of glasses.
It takes 2 of them.
Thank you for your patience. I'm just looking down here at this paper and it's all blurry, so.
You let me win.
Thank you very much. Okay, do we have any staff who'd like to address us? Not seeing any, we'll move on to the council reports. Council Prosgaard, would you like to start?
I'm good tonight, Mayor.
Okay. Okay. Council Hyatt.
Yeah, I'm good too.
No. Okay. Council Christensen.
I have a couple of things I'd like to talk about. First of all, just thank you to Darla for putting forth the initiative and coming in to talk to us today about that crosswalk. It might not be a bad idea to have something up there to break the speed of traffic across that road as well. Flashing lights might work if it doesn't constitute the need for an actual crossing guard up there. As well, I've noticed there to the east of Barnett, the trail system we were looking at putting in, somebody's lost a tree and the fence is taken out. It might be worth considering that, looking at it. I know I've talked to Jill a little bit about it, but seeing about connecting that trail through there, while they might be more willing to let us do it now that they need a fence. So anyway, worth looking at. And I think our park tax applications are due here pretty quick. So if you've got something that you want to see done with the park tax, let's get those turned in. That's all I got, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you. And I have neglected to say this, but Councilor Hewlett, will be here, but he's late. He had to go to a MTech board meeting. He's on that board. So we'll go ahead and move to Council Carter.
And I don't have anything, Mayor, at this time, other than thanks you guys, 2 councils in a row, and we've got some people sitting out here, even though you're all from Spring Lake, most of you.
We like to see
We
you.
like to see you. So I'll expect you the first Wednesday in April. I don't know. You're telling me so you won't have to come, I guess, but thanks, you guys.
Okay, we'll move on. I hope I didn't drop the ball here, but we were going to recognize the Payson High School wrestling team for their accomplishments this year. I don't see them here right now, so maybe I did drop the ball, but I got it on the schedule, on the agenda, but we'll do that another day, another council. Okay, we'll move to D, action items. Public hearing, the issuance and sale of not more than $70 million aggregated principal amount of sewer revenue bonds, series 2022 and related matters. Dave and Kathy, did you talk to us?
Trying to share my screen.
Okay.
Mayor and Council, several council meetings ago, we had a presentation from Forest Grant Engineering. They're the ones that received the bid to do the design work for our wastewater plant and the upgrade. And just for those in attendance, the state of Utah is mandating that the phosphorus amount coming out of the wastewater treatment plants in the state has to be lower than 1. And so most of this wastewater treatment plants around the state are having to upgrade. And we've been working on that for several years. We worked with the state because they were looking at a new technology called ClearAs. I think North Davis County tried that. And so they gave us an extension to see how that worked. It didn't work as well as everybody thought it was going to work. So we went back to what we were planning on doing to upgrade our wastewater treatment plant. We went through the bid process. We worked with the state of Utah. The Water Quality Board has given us a loan of about $13.5 million. The initial estimates were that the treatment plant would be about $24-25 million. And we took some steps to raise some rates a few years ago to cover that, close to that amount. With the time that's passed and with COVID and the chain supply, as the engineers have gotten into the detail of engineering our treatment plant for the upgrade, it's ballooned, as you know. And Forrester went through that. I can pull that PowerPoint up if you want to see it again. But that was the news you gave. The engineer and architect's estimate right now is about 55 million. It kind of makes you sick. But as we went through that, we can't get any more extensions with the state. We have to have this up and running by January of 2025. And there's probably between 1.5 to 2 years construction on this process. So last council meeting, the council adopted a parameters resolution. And I know the parameters resolution is higher than what the estimated is. One of the reasons for that is there's still a little bit of unknown as that design goes further and further. We're still, with the engineers, we're pretty confident, as much as you'd be confident in this day and age with costs going, that we're still around that $55 million range. However, when you do a parameters resolution, you set the ceiling that says the city council is considering borrowing up to a certain amount. If you estimate too low and their costs come in higher, you have to go through the whole process again. So we told the council, and the council adopted last council meeting a parameter that we can't go above the 70 million. We're not proposing that it's going to get that high, but we did that. According to the state rules, we have to have a public hearing. And so we were just going to go through, and I've got a little PowerPoint that Kathy helped prepare. We're showing the scenario of what we probably have to do as far as rates go to be able to cover the debt that we're going to have to incur. So I'll just go through those a little bit, and then just, Mayor, knowing it's a public hearing, we can have anybody comment on this. There's no action that needs to take place, except we're just trying to get information out there that this is what the city council's planning on doing. The state of Utah gave us, like I say, 13.5 million. They actually gave us 14.5 million. And we get a debt forgiveness of $1 million, so we don't have to pay $1 million of that back. The interest rate on the state loan is 0.5%, which is awesome. The rest of the loan that we have to go is out on the market. Some of the cities that have gone out to market, it's been less than 2%, but the interest rates are creeping up. So let me just pull up this PowerPoint and we can talk through a few things, and then I'll open it up for comments. Let's see if it shows up. Council members, can you see that online?
Yes.
Okay. So potential rates for this sewer increase. All right. There we go. So the projected cost again is hovering around the $55 million. There's also, as the mayor and council know, there's a bottleneck between the wastewater treatment plant and heading out toward 8 South. There's a bottleneck there that we've known about for a couple of years. We had part of our sewer line collapse 2 years ago that we had to have an emergency repair. But depending on where this design eventually comes, if there is a little wiggle room, we'd like to correct that bottleneck as well. And that design has not been done, but it's the collapse line that we did a couple of years ago was 2.3 million. So it's probably in the range of 4.5 to 5. On the 16th of February, you did the parameters resolution like we talked about. The state loan we talked about. We have a deadline to have the treatment plan up and running by January 2025. We have Forest Green Engineering as our consultant engineer, and Alder Construction as the contractor helping with the design and the construction. And just to let you know, I think Alder Construction is also taking care of Spanish Forks upgrade, Provo City's upgrade. Provo City, the cost went so high, they thought, well, we're going to try to go with another contractor. And they went through the process, and with the cost going up, it ended up they lost some time and didn't save any money. So we think we've got great contractors on there and a great engineer. Here's just a couple of the unknowns, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but we're still only about 30 to 40% complete on the engineering. But with the way costs are going, we're hoping that we can utilize some of the funding from the state to get things ordered, equipment, before the costs go bad. But the supply chain issues continue to be a problem with any construction project that we have. Every bid that we put out, the last 3 or 4 construction projects have come in 30% higher than what the engineer's estimate is. It's the market we're in right now. Inflation keeps going. The open market, we're working with Zion's Public Finance to help us get ready to go out on the open market for bond rates. So those are just a couple of the unknowns here. This is the Department of Water Quality loan that we received, the 14.5 million. This is pretty set because we know the interest rate. That to pay that back, it's going to be about $485,000 annually for the next 30 years to pay that loan off. The market bond, we're estimating 2%, 41 million. If those numbers stay in that range, it'll be about 1.8 million annually to be able to make the bond payments. And that's the combined here, it's 2.3. This is our best estimate on our budgets. We have the operating budget currently is about 1.6 million. We have funding for some capital projects to keep upgrading where we need it at 1.6. We have a couple of other bonds. One of the sewer bonds that's in conjunction with the pool, that goes out for another 5 years at 325,000. We have a sewer bond, revenue bond with that collapse. We've been paying just some minimum payments. We have the balloon payment of 2.5 million next year in 2024. We have been saving for that with some excess revenues. We've been putting that in the state PTIF fund. I think by that time we'll have enough to pay that off. So we're covering that. It looks like we've got 1.6 million already toward that to pay that off. And then the DWQ board loan and the open market loan. So that would show we would need, and then we're also calculating in impact fees that we receive from new development to help pay for that at about $300,000 annually. So the estimate that we have is we'll need about $5.7 million to run our sewer department. Right now, currently, we are collecting about 4.2 million through our rates and rate studies to be able to cover the amount for these new bonds. We're going to have to raise that up. I'll go to the next slide. It's right here toward the bottom, an increase. We'd have to raise our sewer rates about $14 a month. And we can have some discussion as a council on this, whether we do that over a couple of year periods. So we're going to be in construction for the next couple of years, but we will have to utilize those funds at least probably in the next 2 years. So that's not great news. Part of it's a state mandate, but we're trying to show you maybe the worst case scenario. If the bids come in under budget, it could be less than that. We're looking at all options. So that was just a quick estimate of what we would need to do to cover the upgrade of the sewer plant. And we need to get moving on that probably toward the end of this fall. We're checking with the state of Utah as far as, and as well as the open bond market. If there's a way we can utilize some of the funds now and start ordering some of the projects and start on some of the buildings, then we can keep that going and get it done as soon as possible. So that's really all the presentation I have. I don't know if we can open it up to the public and open a public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as a result of that information that Dave has been able to give us, I'll accept a motion to open a public hearing.
I'll second that. Oh, you have
Do you
to.
have a motion?
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah,
make
is
the
there, I didn't hear a motion.
I'll make a motion that we open this to public hearing.
I'll second it.
that.
Okay, looks like we got 2 seconds. Which one you want to take? Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open a public hearing. Please, if you have some comments for us, please step to the mic, state your name. Please speak clearly and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, and that you agree or disagree with what previously had been commented on. State some new information and don't repeat old information. So we'll go ahead to that point and open the public hearing. Not seeing anyone that's coming up, or is there anybody online, Kim?
We're looking to see
Okay. Since there's no one coming up and no one online, I'll accept the motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the
Mayor,
motion. I'll make the motion that we close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to close public hearing and it's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead.
Mayor and council. So unless
Open
the
some-
council wants to address any comments for us, there's no formal action that council needs to take at this point. It was just a public hearing to let the public come and express their concerns or views if they needed to. So
Okay.
unless the council has any comments, we can move on, but it's up to you.
Okay, any comments, council?
Yeah, I'd like to see a figure, Dave, at the 5022, what revenue generates that in comparison to the 5.7? Does that leave any buffer or is that tight? Where do we go with that?
Right. It's really tight. There's not much of a buffer there, if any.
That's concerning to me.
Yeah. Kathy came down and talked to me about that as well. So that is a little bit of a concern.
If we raise it $1, is that going to necessitate another public hearing?
No, as far as raising the rates, the council has the discretion to do that. This public hearing is for the purpose of going out to bond on the market. But as far as the rates go, the city council will have the ultimate authority of determining how much and the timing of raising those rates.
I think we can have this discussion later in council meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, unless there's any further comments, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item. Next item is number 2, ordinance zone change for property located at 2007 South Highway 198 from A5H to Annex Holding Zone to R1-15 zone. Chris?
Okay, let me share this screen real quick. It's still not loading.
I don't have the glasses.
Yeah.
I can't see near either.
Perfect. Hi, good evening. So this is the McNeil zone change. It's these 2 parcels that are being considered for the zone change. We ran through the details. They are currently zoned A5H. It is proposed that they're changed to R1-15. It's almost 12 acres altogether, and it's divided over 2 parcels. So you'll recall that when we talked about the Springs at Spring Lake annexation, we mentioned the JT Valley annexation, which is immediately north of that and immediately south of Springside Meadows. This is that piece of land. So this was included in the annexation, and it was for the annexation agreement intended to be a transition zone between the R112 areas in Springside Meadows and then the larger lots in Spring Lake. R1-15 would fall within the general plan range for this area, which is 2 to 5 net units per acre, with it being low density residential. Once again, that is just one factor in the general plan. There's a lot to consider, but Planning Commission did recommend approval in their March 9th meeting. And that's the end of the road as far as the presentation goes, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
One
I
quick
do.
time I would have, Chris, what is staff's recommendation on that?
So typically, staff like to see a subdivision and zone change run concurrently. And the reason for that is a subdivision by itself is administrative, meaning if the applicant checks all the boxes, it has to be approved. With it being a zone change, there's a little more wiggle room and a little more recourse for, well, it becomes a legislative approval because there's a legislative approval tied to it. So if you were to approve the zoning today, that would entitle the land. The subdivision would have to be approved if it meets all the parameters that are necessary. So we haven't received a subdivision application yet, which is why they have not been run concurrently. This is just the zone change. So the staff preference is always to run those together.
Mayor,
Bob, go ahead.
may I make a comment? I'm going to try to be philosophical about this. I haven't seen anything yet that shows that Mr. McNeil obtained permission to come onto the state road. And so I'm very concerned right now. The only way I see he has access to that is currently in the city, that would give him that access as Fifth West. I made my comments before that I really didn't want to see anything on 12-240, I believe, or 12-220, which is affectionately known to me as my bike route. That concerns me that right now I only see one way of egressing this property, and my findings, my findings are this. I don't want to make a motion tonight of approving this until I see the plat and that staff, council, and planning zoning have the opportunity to vet that completely and really make this the subdivision that we want to see out of it, and not something that we approve. If we approve this tonight, if I'm not mistaken, if we approve this tonight, then staff could go ahead and approve the plat, or we could look at the plat. But we've granted Mr. McNeil an R15, so realistically, as long as he meets the R15 zone, he's well on his way. And I still believe I'd like to see him concurrently. That gives us one more legislative opportunity to look at this and make it smell good. That's my feeling.
Thank you.
It's my understanding, I could be corrected though, Council Proscard mentioned the state highway access. That's my understanding, that state highway access, at least at the location that was proposed by the developer, it was turned down. Is that right?
Right, that's Rob, has anything changed with that, or is that correct?
Unless there's other,
Rob's the applicant.
I've got a comment.
Rob, you're on mute.
I am very sorry. I'm talking to myself.
Oh.
That's always helpful when you can answer yourself. So we did have our meeting, David Peterson, my engineer, and myself yesterday with UDOT. There was Marshall was there, probably 6 other gentlemen from UDOT. Their concern was, number one is that we were short about 300 feet in spacing from the southern road for this access. And so they decided at this time that they would not grant the access onto 198 and look elsewhere for access. And I did send over a new concept to planning and to Travis. You possibly just haven't seen it yet, Bob, or
I have not.
Mayor, city, or council members. Yeah, but that concept has been sent over.
And to clarify for the record, a concept plan is just that, a concept. We haven't received a submittal for a subdivision application.
Yeah.
So I'm on, and kind of in concurrence with Bob, as that we don't have access yet. If we prove the zone change, and then they'll be able to go in, and we don't have any say after that. We still have another piece of property that's up for trying to figure out what to do with that other piece of property. So I think if he owns both of them, they ought to be kind of tied together and do the zone change at one time. I did get a letter from Dan Herbert that he wanted to pass on to council. So just one thing that he stated in here, besides all these things we've talked about, is that we maybe ought to be looking at an R120 zone in Payson where we have some half-acre lots, and that might be a good transition from the other subdivision to Spring Lake. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm feeling right now. It's getting the cart before the horse.
And I believe that's how, of course, I don't get to vote, but I'd like to express my view too. I think we need to do them concurrently, and that if we need a motion, I'd like for the council, if they consider so, to refer back to staff so we can get some answers.
Mayor, I'll make a motion of my findings that I stated earlier, that I would like to see with what was originally platted, if it just went the way it was in this first phase, there is more than 10 homes there that would require 2 points of egress. And while none of us have seen those 2 points of egress, that's one of my findings. And the other is, I think we're kind of getting the cart before the horse here in not seeing a final, or not a final plat, but a preliminary plat that we can all vet and make sure that we're doing this correct. So my motion is that we remand this back to the developer and to staff and to meet those findings that I have found. If council has any other findings, I'm open to amending my motion, but that is my motion.
I wouldn't just limit to a few findings, but whatever comes up during this process, Bob, if you can put that in there.
I accept that, yes.
Okay,
I'll second that.
we have a motion. It's been seconded. Start with the roll call vote, starting with Council Hewlett.
Aye.
Council Carter,
Aye.
Council Hyatt.
Aye. Sorry.
It's okay. Council Prosgaard
Aye.
and Council Christensen.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thanks for bringing it back and get it hashed out.
Thank you.
So we see you guys in a few more weeks probably, so. Maybe you could commute together and carpool or something, so.
Have dinner before or after.
So before everybody leaves, Mayor, could I take what I didn't get to comment at the beginning?
Go ahead.
So Paris RV is now open. They have some salespeople down there. So if anybody wants to go down, look at that building, it is fantastic. And it's just going to be a great part of our community. So go down and look at it.
Okay.
Brian, I have one more for you.
Thank you for being here, Spring Lake. If you want to stay, go ahead and stay.
Brian,
Yeah,
Maybe you-
yeah, Bob.
maybe you could give us an update on MTech,
See.
on what happened in the past legislative session.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's been brought up too, but MTech has now had their funding for the building in Payson. They had like $47,900. So, but one thing they did put caveat, they did put in the legislature, they can't start billing till March 1st. So today at the MTech board meeting, they said, we'll be there at 12:01 March 1st. 2023, right. So anyway, so that's coming along. We were #1 in the whole state, and they say usually they thought it'd take 5 to 7 years to get to this point, but they did this fast, so it's great.
Thanks,
Okay,
Brian,
thank
for
you,
all
Council.
you've done.
Hewlett. I don't know whether there's a representative from the Bird Scooters contract. Are you ready to present, Jason?
No, Council and Mayor, I have forwarded a copy of a contract to Bird Scooters for their approval. I have not seen that back yet. That was about a week and a half ago, so I'm not sure why I haven't seen it. So I would ask for a motion to table.
I'll make a motion that we table with Bird Scooter.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion been seconded. Shows here roll call vote where we're tabling it. Do we need a roll call vote?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Council Christensen, didn't hear you. We got enough anyhow, so motion carries. Okay. Okay. Going on to #4, ordinance adoption. Oh, yeah, this is yours as well. Adoption of code, recodified Payson City Code. Jason?
Mayor and Council, some questions came up about this. Let me just give you a little background. This is a complete renumbering almost of our entire code. And what this does is basically puts it online in what's called Muni Code. It's very easy to use. However, some questions came up in our pre-meeting that basically we would like to talk to Muni Code people about, because we have some concerns about, like, for instance, the zoning code is completely changed on numbering. Thus, we would have to change signs and forms and everything else. So we would like some time, so we would ask to have this tabled as well.
I'll move that we table this one also. It'll make this meeting go fast.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion has been seconded. All in favor of this motion, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to number 5. Resolution addendum to the amendment agreed with JKLMN Investments LC. It's to be Kenny Sang regarding sand and gravel extractions operations. Dave?
Yes. Mayor and Council, we've been working with Kenny Sang Construction to get the new scales. It's actually in the agreement we currently have with them. We've had several meetings. We got a proposal from Kenny Sang of the cost to put this in, both sets of scales. They got to put 120-foot scales in, or 110, and we have 80-foot. They'd both be certified for our purposes. It was about 1.5 million. With all the projects we're doing and all the fund balance we're using, we didn't have our portion to do that, just to be straight up with you. And so Kenny Sang said they would be willing to have that put on their credit. We do have a credit when we did the ball fields, and I'll just give you an update on that. I have better numbers than I did when I emailed you, but we amended our agreement with Kenny Sang in January of 2021. The amount that we gave him credit for the royalties was 2.236 million to finish the ball fields. And we gave him an extension at a 10-year period, plus he has an extension of 5 years if he chooses to do that. But he has 10 years to use up that credit. We're only into it just over a year, and they've already used up 884,000 of their credit. So about 39%. So that credit's probably going to be used up before 3 years are up. And so we felt comfortable as a staff, because I know several council members have been pushing or wanting to get these scales in place. And Kenny Sang wants to get them in as well. So they initially proposed to put that 1.56 into the credit. They would put both scales in. And then the one change they did have is that there's 2 requests. One is that to put this 1.5 million, they wanted the ability to have the 10-year contract and then the 5-year extension, but make that a 10-year extension. So it'd be a total of 20 years. They felt like that would maybe be the life of the gravel pit. So that's one thing they had suggested. The other thing is, right now in our current contract, it says that when the scales are in, our scales are ours, but their scales are theirs, and they would either take those and remove those scales, or they would negotiate with us at the time. On this initial proposal, they said, we'll pay for it all, 1.5 million. And at the end of the lease agreement, that both of those scales will be ours. There was one thing I wasn't as comfortable with, because they have the use of that for the next 10 to 20 years, and we're paying all the cost. And so I went back to see, first of all, I didn't know if we would want those scales or needed them. Both Kent felt like that we don't know what's going to happen in 20 years with the garbage, but we're planning on moving the C&D landfill up here. So both scales could be beneficial. So we went back to Kenny Sang, and they agreed to pay about 35% of their scales, for the use that they're going to be using on. And then still we would own both scales at the end of the time. So I think the proposal is that it'd be 1.3 million that would be a credit for them. And if the construction goes the way it's been going, it would probably be 5 years and they'll start paying royalties again with what they're taking out of there. So that's the proposal for the court, for the council. The one thing that the reason why I wanted to amend the agenda and put it on here is for the only reason they've already ordered the scales they need. There's quite a lead time, and we would need to get our scales ordered and just get moving on it and get them in as soon as we can. So that's the proposal. If the mayor and council has any concerns, questions, comments, we feel like it, with the revised proposal, it was a fair deal, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, we've had a good experience with Kenny, and I don't think we have any problem with extending that contract.
So I have a few questions for you, Dave. So just so I understand, so we'll have a scale at the landfill, and then he'll have a scale up by the gravel pit.
We're going to move our scales up closer to his.
So
So we'll have two sets up close to there.
could you use the same scales instead of having to buy two scales? And
No, they're different purposes, and with, you see it at times at the landfill with the municipal landfill, it's back clear up out, and Kenny Sing's scales are going to be automated. They're not going to have somebody there. You know, they have a, whatever that does, it drives by and it scans it and they go in and out. But I think to put them all on one scale, it would cause even a bigger backup than what we've had.
If I'm not mistaken, the technology lets us monitor that as well, right?
With both scales, we're going to be able to monitor. And that's one of the things, I think, Teresa, that's one of the things you were wanting, is to be able to have real time knowing what trucks went off, how much they weighed when they came in and come out. We will have access to monitor that and have that. But we feel like we need both scales.
yeah, I guess the challenge I have with this is we won't have use of that other scale for at least 10 years, maybe 20 years. And it's not for our use. I have a hard time paying for even part of it during that period of time. I'd rather look at it and if we decide we need it, purchase it at the end of the time instead of us paying for something else for somebody else's business for right now. But do I understand that correctly? Is that that's kind of the way I'd look at it, is let him pay for his, and if at that point in time we purchase it if we need it, instead of us buying it and we don't even know if we're going to need it.
Yeah, that's an option. I mean, the scales we've had right now are probably 35 years old.
No,
So
I'm talking, we're by ours. I'm talking
No,
about.
I understand, but I don't think the technology.
Right. But we aren't, it's not, we don't need the scale. So even if the technology, it doesn't change, man, we just have to buy it at the end. I'd rather look at it that way than buying part of it now.
Fair enough. This was their proposal. So if that proposal, I mean, we can counter that, but if they decide not to do that, then we're gonna have to see if we can find money to do our own scales.
I think it's a, yeah, and I
But I
understand.
agree, we can go back and ask that.
I think we ought to ask it.
That was in the amended agreement you did last January. That portion of it said that upon them building their scales, once they were done with them, they would give us the option to buy them.
We would negotiate that at the end.
And I think that I'd kind of like continue going that way, and I don't mind extending the contract. I think we do have to look at, I can't remember in that contract, there's a way escalating for price as they go up. We'd have to look at that.
Either party can do that, and that
Yeah.
stays the same.
Okay.
Okay,
Dave,
any
I'm
further-
fine.
further discussion?
Oh, hold on.
Yeah. I'm fine with the two scales, but I think the 20 years is tying our hands a little longer than I wanted to be. I think we negotiate. He'll use that up in 15 years. I just don't want him to be able to say, I got 5 years left. I'm not going to haul out 5,000 tons deliberately, meaning we've had a great relationship with Kenny, but I just think 20 years is too far out. I would be a lot more comfortable with the 15-year, kind of the normal life of the technology of scale that's being put in. I'm good with 15 years. 20 makes me nervous. And he shouldn't balk on that, because if he's going to use up the ball fields in 3 years or 3.5 years, this other he'll use up much quicker. So I don't know why he's pushing 20 years on it.
I think his only purpose, and maybe should have had him get on the line. I think his only purpose was they're thinking that maybe at the end of 20 years, that might be the end life of the gravel pit. And they just want to be able to maybe call this our last agreement. and not have to renegotiate again. We do have the ability to renegotiate the royalties at any time, any year we can do that, but.
Yeah, I think he just wants to tie it up till he sees the end of life.
Right.
And if we can renegotiate the royalties, I don't have any problem because we've had good relationships with him.
Yeah,
So
as long as we can renegotiate those royalties, I'm all in.
That's already in there. It can be done any year either party wants to do that. So
Perfect.
I guess it's up to you. If you table it, we'll go back and ask him. We'd have to put that on in the next 3 weeks then, but we need to kind of get things ordered. So you want to table it then and let us see what we can get?
So the only thing that yeah, it sounds like we're on board with 20 years, as long as we can renegotiate the the money for the product. And but the only thing that we're wondering about is whether we pay for his part of his scale, right?
Yep.
Again, and I've expressed this to Dave as we've talked. I don't mind paying for that because it helps us to get the thing that we wanted to get done with verifying what he's taking out of the. Not that we don't trust him, but it's good to check and verify. And so I'm okay with it as it is, but that's just me.
yeah, he's purchasing that anyway, so he's going to buy it. So it really doesn't help us do that because he's already ordering it. So
I'm okay with the two scales. You know what, we're going to pay for them sooner or later, so let's pay for them now while they're cheap. I think I'd make a motion that we approve the contract as presented.
Second that motion.
Okay, we've got a motion been seconded, calls for a roll call vote. It's Council Christensen. Are you here?
Yep, I'll go
Okay,
yes on
start
that.
with you. Didn't hear you.
I said yes.
Okay, Council Hyatt.
Okay, I have to state that we're leasing some ground from him out in West Mountain, but this doesn't have anything to do with that, but I'll go with the yes.
Thank you. Appreciate the notification. Council Prosgaard,
Yes.
Council Carter,
Yes.
Council Hewlett.
no,
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we've added closed session. We've had some information that we need to consider on purchase of property. So I'll accept a motion to go into closed session.
so moved.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Is it roll call? Okay, roll call starting with Council Hewlett.
Aye.
Council Carter,
Aye.
Council Prosgaard,
Aye.
Council Hyatt,
Aye.
Council Christensen.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, now we still muted. I can't hear anybody.
I can't hear anybody either.
I can hear Teresa.
Well, I'm unmuted.
Now you can hear, right?
Yes.
Now we can.
So just before you adjourn, staff would like to get together with the council and have maybe a little further discussion on annexations and maybe some budget items if we get far enough on that. But we do have a 5th Wednesday coming up in 2 weeks from tonight. Would you guys be available to do a work session on that night and have some discussion?
We need new pictures too.
We need what?
New pictures.
Oh, we need pictures of all you yahoos.
Yes, we do. We need that.
Maybe we can arrange that before the meeting.
What's that date, David?
The 30th of March.
30th.
What day is it?
It's a Wednesday. It's 2 weeks from tonight.
Well, of course it's a Wednesday. God.
I said that, Teresa. What's wrong with her? It's a Wednesday.
I know that. I don't even know why I said that because I was trying to figure out the days that are left.
So we okay with the fifth Wednesday?
if we at least have a quorum, but we'd love to have everybody.
Yep.
I know we used to do that when they had a fifth Wednesday, just to do budget sessions or whatever we needed to talk about. So
I'm scheduled to be home on the 29th.
Okay.
I'll be there.
I was waiting for the second part. You might want to go out on a date with your wife. So,
What wife? I think she's divorced me. You ask her who Bob is, she'll say, I don't know who you're talking about.
I knew a Bob once when he was young.
What about Bob?
Yeah.
Okay, we will schedule one then and go from there. Appreciate that.
You bet.
Okay.
Okay, after having dealt with that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn. I'll second it.
Okay, we've got a motion been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.